I'm Thomas Puha. I'm the Director of Communications over at Remedy Entertainment.
Let's start by talking about the inception of Control.
Right, so Control is the next game from us at Remedy and coming out on August 27th. And it's a supernatural action adventure. And if you look at it, yes, it's a third-person action game. That's kind of our bread and butter at Remedy. But looks can be deceiving. It's a very different game to what we've kind of done before. It's a lot more open-ended. There's a lot more sort of that Metroidvania vibe in the game. It's going to be a very challenging game. There's definitely a bit of that Dark Souls in there. And when it comes to sort of the origins of the game, and we talked a lot about this with the game director years ago, and like what the team wanted to do. And every game you do tends to be a reaction to your previous game. And with Quantum Break, we were very kind of general mass market audience, so the mechanics were good but not that deep and all that. Now we're kind of like, let's just go left field, let's just make a really, really gameplay driven experience with really good systems and mechanics, and let's not be afraid of being weird. Like, this is really kind of Remedy being very left field.
When it comes to Remedy, what do you feel defines what you guys do from a game development standpoint?
Weirdness. I think Remedy's always kind of been a little bit offbeat. I think that's a good thing. Maybe to some people it's not a good thing, but we want to stand out, and we do. We're a very international company. We got like 25 different nationalities and like 220 people at the studio, and we sometimes ask ourselves, like, what's the kind of Remedy thing in the game? Is there like a Finnish thing? To us Finns, the thing is the weirdness almost in the games, but I think Remedy makes very kind of meticulous games. Story is important, characters are important, and really, really gameplay now. We really, really want to get back to that kind of Max Payne 2 where everything was really good. A great story, great characters, a lot of replay value, like super solid mechanics, and we really want to like kind of knock it out the park with Control in that same way, that everything is kind of really, really well balanced. But I think it's fun to see when people comment our games and they're like, well, Remedy is always doing something a little bit different, and I think that's a good way to put it, that we want to stand out.
You guys also have always had either Hollywood tie-ins, whether it's using actors or very cinematic stories. Where does that come from, being in Finland?
For good or bad, we all consume a lot of American pop culture, right? Especially back in the day, and Max Payne was a lot of also like John Woo, because that was back when people were swapping like late 90s, mid 90s, like swapping literally VHS tapes of like John Woo movie, like Hard Boiled and Killer and all that stuff, and then The Matrix of course happened. So of course. We take a lot of influence from that. Everybody's kind of a pop culture junkie at Remedy, but it's not just that. There's games that inspire us, books that inspire us, and movies that inspire us. It kind of depends on who you ask. And the thing for us always has been, like, even in Max Payne, like, it was New York through the eyes of us. Like, how do we view New York as kind of outsiders? And then, Alan Wake said in the Pacific Northwest, we're kind of influenced by, Twin Peaks and things like that. So it's interesting if you think about, like, even like Rockstar. It's a bunch of Scottish people kind of like doing satire on American culture. Well, of course they're very multicultural too, but like I think that's kind of interesting as well.
Is there a Hollywood perspective when it comes to Control?
How do I answer that? I would say no. We feel with Quantum Break we kind of took that linear cinematic game as far as we can take it, and we're kind of all over doing like long cutscenes and all that. It's just like that's kind of in the past. Like we're still making story-driven games in Control, but we tell the story in various different ways, whether it's cutscenes or a little bit of live action that you know us for, and lots of other kind of methods. But in Control, of course, the lead character, Jessie, is played by Courtney Hope, who was in Quantum Break, and Courtney is just like a kick-ass personality. We love working with her, so it's just like we need to get her for Control. And then, of course, we do have James McCaffrey, who's the voice of Max Payne, He's in control, and then of course Mr. Porretta, who's the voice of Alan Wake, is also in control. So we're really all about let's bring the band back together.
When it comes to being here at Reboot Develop, can you talk a little about what you guys are talking about here at this show?
Yeah, we really want to support Reboot. I personally really appreciate how the conference has grown. And definitely a shout out to Damir and the rest of the organizers. They put up a good show. It's a pretty incredible lineup, and we just, as Remedy, wanted to support that. So what we've been talking about here, we put out some news, revealed the composers of Controls from Matti Stig Andersen and Petri Alanko. But then our CEO, Tero Virtala, talked about the transformation of Remedy in the past 4 years. We used to be making one game at a time for a very long time, and now we're working on 3-4 different things. At the same time, the studio has grown a lot. We became PLC as well. So there's been a lot of change, but that's kind of the one constant in the games industry. Remedy's been around since '95, so you can't survive in this industry without having the ability to change. So we talked about that, and Remedy is nothing if not meticulous. We research things, and we spend a lot of time analyzing the business and trying to ensure that the company has a very long future ahead of itself. And I think in real Remedy and Finnish fashion, we're also very open and honest to discuss how do we do things, where we've succeeded, where we failed, what our learnings are, because we just feel that will benefit the rest of the industry as well.